Right before she died of a drug overdose, I had no idea she was taking drugs.
It gets you addicted. I mean, I started out like any drug, just doing it once a week. Then it became twice a week. Then it became almost every night, smoking a little bit. Then it became waking up with it, doing it all day long.
I didn't get to see my daughter, but her dad did.
He was a heroin addict. He, had struggled with heroin for a long time, but he had been clean for a year.
I'm just thinking to myself, like, "God, why? Why did you drive?"
I looked to the left and I saw like this white truck, and I couldn't say no. I said, I go, oh Jesus, like that, and it hit us.
You will be convicted of a felony if you're caught selling this stuff.
And what you don't really realize is that you're putting your life in danger and everybody else around you in danger, and it's just not worth it.
It was 8 minutes from the time the officer left, and that my daughter was killed.
Broke my back at T12, severed my spinal cord, had a punctured lung, a torn diaphragm, and several broken ribs, and that's what left me paralyzed at the waist, and he got a speeding ticket. That's it.
Hi, folks. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome. We did not have a premiere tonight. We have several stories that are close to ready, but none are quite there yet. We're still in the edit process, and we have a bunch of more stories that we recorded in Foley, Alabama last weekend. And we can tell you there are either 12 or 13 stories that we recorded in Foley. And in about a month, we are going to be in Memphis, Tennessee, doing it again. So who's with us? Who is... I'm seeing something weird happening here. Are you guys hearing me okay? I'm typing and it's not, there it is. Okay. I put a message in the chat that said live in 30 seconds, and it looks like it didn't make it all the way over to you guys. So anyway, so who's with us in the audience today? Any folks have questions for us? Questions about Texas Pictures, maybe about the fentanyl series or the cannabis-induced psychosis series, the missing series, any of that? We'd love to hear from you and have any answer questions. I'm not seeing any messages showing up. I also have a bunch of pictures. Well, some pictures, maybe not a bunch, but some pictures from the event in Foley that I thought I would share with you. I also have a video clip of behind the scenes, but it looks like it's not working right. So still, I'm not seeing any messages. Is there a reason? I'm not. This is a little... It doesn't seem to be working quite right. Are you guys hearing me okay? Am I missing something here? I don't know. I see there is 15, 14 people in the room, but I'm not seeing any messages. Thank you, Wolfgang Ruth. Thank you for saying something, letting me know everything is working all right. So welcome and hello, Candy Cakes. Hello, love your vids. Thanks. Thank you for informing us and shedding light on these beautiful victims and families and their stories. Candy Cake says, yes, I can hear you. Thank you. Thank you. I was starting to get a little worried because there wasn't anything happening over here. So it's a little bit different because we didn't have a premiere. We don't have the immediate experience of seeing a new story that we can draw on as it being something to talk about. But there's a lot going on in the world of fentanyl and in the world of missing persons and cannabis-induced psychosis. And so there's plenty to talk about. Kimberly Smith says, 2 dead skunks. And what she's talking about there is the smell of weed, which has changed over the years. It doesn't smell like it smelled 20 years ago, 30 years ago. 30 years ago, weed to me smelled like, well, it smelled like high school. Right. But now it's different. It seems weird. So, Wolfgang, where are you at? Where are you? What part of the country are you in? Are you, assuming you're in the United States, where are you at? And Candy Cakes, where are you at? Both of you guys are new names that I don't reckon. Candy Cakes maybe, but I don't recognize Wolfgang Ruth for sure. So share with us where are you at? And while we talk about that, I think I will share with you guys we have some pictures from the storytelling summit that was in Foley, Alabama last weekend. Candy Cakes is in Dallas. We may be in Dallas soon, but I don't remember why. It happens. Our schedule is a pretty fluid event, and we just go where we're called. Hello, Just Jen. Thank you for being here. Wolfgang. Okay, Wolfgang, Germany. Yeah, okay. That makes perfect sense. Thank you for joining us. Holy cow, what time is it over there? It's like 1, 2 in the morning, something like that. I've been to Germany. I've been to Frankfurt. Didn't venture much past the airport. I had an overnight layover and did a little bit of exploring, and it was very cool. Anyway, so I am. What am I looking at here? I want to share with you guys some pictures from behind the scenes. At the Storytelling Summit. It's just a conversation. Danny Cake says, my cousin is in Germany and he loves it. Just Jen is in Kansas. I look at stuff like there's a state representative in Kansas that we've interviewed to talk about the Good Samaritan. which was passed last year. His name was Pat. Something. It escapes me. Anyway, this is a picture. We don't have these in any particular order. So this guy right here is the. I'm just going to back up. I know this is a little bit awkward, but here we go. So this is in what we call the other room.
It's really a simple process.
And the other room is the room where storytellers wait while they're waiting to record their interview. Okay, there's some noise going on now.
Except, you're going to talk to...
There we go, sorry. And so this is in the other room, and that's two of our storytellers and Dawn Brooks, who was the event coordinator. And Dawn was also one of our storytellers from a previous shoot, a recording we did. I believe it was in Wiggins, Mississippi, I believe. So, moving right along. Here's some of our storytellers, two storytellers with me. And there's my wife and a storyteller and me in the middle. Wife and more storytellers. At the end of the first day of shooting, we had a guest speaker, and we had several guest speakers at the event. And this right here is the county sheriff for, well, it looks like it says Baldwin County right there. So we'll go with that. Here is another picture of the storytellers in the other room. And I can't say enough about how much magic happens in the other room. People who have just met connect and bond and share and get close. It's really awesome. Now, this is during the event in the evening where we heard presentations from the county sheriff, the Foley police chief, and the county coroner. Storytellers. Message retracted. Candy cakes, what happened? Here is the police chief. No, I'm sure he's not looking for donuts. But storytellers, the stuff that goes on in this room in the back where all the storytellers wait to share their stories. They fill out the form they fill out. And oftentimes, after they've done their interview, they go back to the room and they spend more time there with the people that are in there. It's really awesome. In this picture, that's the county coroner giving a presentation. He's talking about fentanyl and how it's showing up in the cases that he sees. Hello, Brad. I don't know when we're coming. Actually, we have Jake Beasley is talking about having us come up there because of this new law. So that's about it for the pictures. And we also have a short video that is a behind the scenes thing. Ambersale Burger. Well, I'm guessing burger. I admire the work you all do, and I'm so thankful for the safe, healing space you offer your storytellers. There's someone else in here from Kansas. Amber. It was just Jen. When are you coming to Oklahoma? I think we might be coming there soon. There's a story there about a new law, and that could be pretty interesting. Candy Cake says, I've lost several people, close friends and associates, to fentanyl. It's extremely hard pill to swallow. Just Jen says, me, meaning me, I'm the person in Kansas. And yes, Kansas. Amber Sale is also in Kansas. So who else is in the room? Any other usual suspects? The summit in Foley went extremely well. We were set up at a wonderful hotel, Fairfield Inns and Suites by Marriott. And Dawn Brooks did so much, just an incredible amount to make the event go smoothly. We always had food. We had coffee, sodas, and soft water, and it was a great event. And I can't say enough about how grateful we are for all the hard work that Dawn Brooks did. Just it was awesome. It was really, really awesome. We had dinner on the last night we were there with a few of the storytellers, and that was a great time as well. I don't know why that picture wasn't in there, but that picture is on my Facebook thing. So Just Jen says, I'm 60 years old, and I don't know of anyone who I personally have lost from fentanyl. Well, I'm 63, soon to be 64 years old. And now I know lots of people who've lost someone to fentanyl. But before we started doing these stories, I didn't know anyone either. I learned about fentanyl from the DEA because the DEA hired us to create stories like the fentanyl series at a store it was a fentanyl family summit put on by the DEA here in Houston, and we recorded stories there, and that's where it all began. Anyway, Candy Cake says, I pray for all of us every day, no matter who you are or what you're going through. These are tough times for everyone. Hang in there, everyone. Glenn, what's going on with the summit for next month? I don't know. It's evolving. We still have almost a month before it happens. Everything will work out. I believe we're still sorting out location. And it looks like the event could be 3 days. And there's a possibility that from Memphis we're going to go maybe somewhere else in Tennessee. So Wolfgang says, do the people feel better after telling you their story? Yeah, they do. They do. It's really a magic kind of moment that before I get into that, let me share with you guys, I have a raw video clip that is, we're going to take the audio way down on that. And this is a raw video clip from behind the scenes as we begin the interview process with one of the storytellers in Foley. And you'll be able to see a little bit about what's going on. Hello, Carla. Thank you for joining us. And Amber, yeah, I'm sure I already said that. But Wolfgang, yeah. They do feel better. That is really, I know how it's all going to end when we're doing the interview. I sit down with these people and go through the worst day of their lives. And I hear these tragedies over and over. But with each one, I know how it's going to end. I know that when it's over, I'm going to get to see the storyteller look lighter, a little brighter, a feeling of not happiness, but satisfaction, a feeling of some kind of reward for getting to take this terrible loss and pull some sort of little bit of value out of it. Not a lot, but something that may help other people. And you can see that they're that they got something out of it. And I know that's coming. So it's easy for me to sit and hear these stories because when it's over, I come around from the camera and they hug me. They always hug me. Man, woman, it doesn't matter. Oh, I don't know who the hell is Candy Glenn. So when I come around the corner or I come around from the camera and the storyteller's finished and they're feeling a little bit drained, but better some kind of way. And they hug me. And after that, I give them one of these roll of lifesavers. It's such an awesome metaphor. And usually they get it pretty quickly. They look at it and they say, thank you. And you can see it happen in their head where, oh, I get it. And they'll cry a little bit, but a different kind of way. A good kind of way. So I get to bring them that little moment of joy over and over and over. So we're going to show a little bit about what happens behind the scenes. And this is just going to be some kind of, it's behind the scenes footage and it's raw footage. It's not edited. So here we go. This is in the room where we're recording the interviews. And this is just a conversation maybe you guys can hear a little bit of what's going on, but this is the typical set. This is the way it virtually always looks. Something very much like this. Sometimes we don't have quite as large of a room, but it is large enough, and it's the same kind of arrangement every time. There's the black background back there, and I'm stepping over now to adjust the boom microphone a little bit, to lower it just a bit, and explaining what I'm doing to the storyteller, or making a joke, or I don't know.
It's just a tweak. So it is really a simple process. The topic.
And now I'm explaining to the storyteller how it works, and that it's just going to be a conversation, except we're going to be talking through this strange magic box that works somewhat like a teleprompter. So the storyteller is looking at me. The storyteller can't really see the camera at all. They just see a person in a box.
It's kind of, nobody's ever as impressed with it as I am.
My husband definitely would be. Actually, I think it's a really great distraction.
It is, it puts people at ease. And
It forces them to look at you.
So anyway, there's a glimpse behind the scenes. Any self-cleaning coffee cups? Brad's asking about the coffee cups. Of course, we have self-cleaning coffee cups. As long as you stick to drinking black coffee. We do. They're available on our store, and they're self-cleaning, and that's why they're so expensive. Because they are. Holy cow, they're like $16 for one. So, Robbie Teasdale, 1965. Robbie, what's your story? Thank you for joining us. Glad you're here. I couldn't do what you do, Glenn, but thank God for you, says Amber. Yeah, Amber, you could. You could. You have that passion and the heart. I think you could. I think you kind of do. With all the awareness stuff that you're doing, it's awesome stuff. For those of you who don't know, Amber is one of our storytellers. And Candy Cake says, as long as the people are happy, that's all that matters. And I don't know if saying they're happy is the right term, but saying that they feel a little better for a little while. That seems to be reasonable. And then it happens again when we make the story public and people start watching it and people start making comments, and there's always lots of very supportive kinds of comments, and they get to experience this kind of value from their loss. There's morons on YouTube too, and there's some pretty rotten comments now and then, but we try to filter those as best as we can. And Carla and Brad are talking about the hoodie with a zipper. There's a pullover hoodie with no zipper, and there is a hoodie with the zipper, both on our store. Candy Cake says, well, satisfied and absolutely feeling better. Sorry about that. No. It's okay. Don't, no reason to be sorry. It's that people, we have several storytellers here with us. We have Amber and Brad and Carla, and I'm sure I'm missing some. I want to point out. I see that we have over 20 people in the room. If you're watching on your smart TV, there's no easy way to comment in the chat from the smart TV, but you can watch on your phone at the same time and just use your phone to engage with the chat. It's always great hearing from you guys. Julie, here's another storyteller. Julie is here. So those of you who are storytellers, what was the experience like for you? Share a little bit with the audience if you can find the words. That would be wonderful. I think we have people in the audience who would be interested in hearing what it was like. We have that one video clip. Truth Speaker says, I talked about domestic violence in the bedroom. Don't be embarrassed. No. It's easy. The topic may not be easy, but the process is very easy. And we designed it that way. It's kind of brilliant, I think. When people sit down, they are able to quickly forget about the whole thing that there's a camera and lights and just have a conversation with a person who wants to know, person who listens, pays attention. Oh, there has been some things going on in the news that are worth talking about. This cartel leader that was killed in Mexico, that's pretty substantial. Amber says, I went in so afraid of being judged or my daughter being judged, but that wasn't the case. And Glenn and Sherry truly care about their storytellers and their lost loved ones. Better than any therapy in my case. Well, thanks. Thanks. That's great to hear. That it is a kind of it certainly has a therapeutic element. I know in the case of Carla and Brad, their loss was so very fresh. If I remember right, it had only been a few months, like 3 months or something like that. I don't remember for sure. But I do remember I was concerned about that. And George O'Brien, George in 3D. I still have your book sitting here. I haven't gotten very far with it, but I have it here, and I've done a bit. And George is also one of our storytellers. He could tell you guys some stuff about the experience. Look, I really have the book right here. George in 3D. George's story is a recovery story. It's a powerful recovery story in the recovery series, and it's one of the few stories that we recorded right here in this room. What are my thoughts about the Epstein files? Well, gosh, Brad, I can always count on you for throwing out some Some interesting kind of question. My thought on the Epstein files is we're never really gonna know. Not really. Candy Cake says, I need that book ASAP. Well, I know it's available on Amazon. And, I know the author is in the room. So he might have some other resources to guide you about how to find the book. Truth Speaker says, Amber, I think I watched my video 1,000 times. I'm a Monday morning quarterback. It's out there, and I'm glad. It's a powerful video, and it's still getting a lot of attention. It's still getting comments. Truth Speaker says, when it rains, I always think of rain. Also, the song, Just Let It Rain. So, how are things in your world, George? Seems like you had something coming up when you were here. I don't remember what it was, but I'm trying. It seems like you had something going on, and it also seems like you always have stuff going on. I received a call just a few days ago from a parent of an adult child in addiction, and she was desperate. She was crying. She wanted guidance about what to do. And so the big things that I shared with her was that there's not so much you can do until the person wants help, until the person gets to that point in their life where they want help. So Brenda is here. Brad, are you worried about your name being in the Epstein files? Okay. Gosh, Brenda, that is new high score, I think. Just like bravo, Brenda. Good job. So so I talked to this mother for 20 minutes or so, and I think maybe I helped her a little bit. The big thing I did was encouraged her to talk to people, to just do the research. People don't learn about addiction until they're in it, or they have a loved one who's in it, and then research takes over. That it's all about figuring out where to go next, what to do, what not to do, all of those kinds of things. So yeah, that's Brad, are you worried about being in the Epstein files? And Carla says, I think he is in there, Brenda. Well, of course he is. Brad says, oh my gosh. Brenda, Carla, I think you are right. This is why he is bringing it up. Candy asks, George, if you have a link and you put it in the chat, please. George, you may not be able to do that. I believe I think that the only people that can actually put links in the chat is me. And so if you can send me the link through Facebook Messenger, not to my phone, but to Facebook Messenger, I can copy it and paste it in here. You can try pasting it yourself and see if it works, but I feel like it doesn't. George says things are good. Poet winter weather events. Yes, I had some prison visits to share my journey and free book giveaway. So how did the prison events go? Now we know why Brad goes to bed so early. Julie says, Brenda, you are hilarious tonight. Kimberly says, hey, Julie. Glenn, what's the title of the book? George in 3D. George in 3D. And if you can't get the link going, this is the book right here. George in 3D. Looks to me like you can read it. Now, if I do this, look at there. Full screen. Well, not quite full screen. I can't lean forward that much, but that's the book. And so Brad says the only Epstein I ever knew was on Welcome Back, Kotter. You don't think maybe that could be the same guy? Brad and Brenda have turned pain and trauma into humor and laughter. They are special souls. They're all special. Carly, you're certainly special. So is Kimberly and Julie and George and Brenda says, truth, I was actually quite down on you guys. Down, but you guys cheered me right up. I can always count on this group to remind me to be thankful in my recovery. Well, you know, Brenda, what you take for granted, other people are praying for. And so there's much to be grateful about. There's always things to be grateful about. George says it went well and powerful. Men in the prisons are desperate for change. Brenda says, thanks, Carla, but I just enjoy picking on Brad. Well, don't we all? Picking on Brad is always a good time. Candy Cake says, George, I think we're all desperate for that. Actually, okay. I think there is a link that'll get you to a way to get George's book in the description for George's story. So here's a question, George. In your story, you talked about Curious George, and then George of the Jungle, and then finally King George. Now, when do we get to see Gorgeous George? George says, professionally, our drug court program just suffered the loss of a new participant to fentanyl overdose last week. That's terrible. And Brenda says, I'm going to submit picking on Brad as an Olympic sport. Tryouts would be hilarious, but musicians can't compete. Ah. Does that include bass players? As you know, there is this running joke that, what do you call a guy who hangs out with a band for no apparent reason? A bass player. So I don't know. Maybe bass players could still. Anyway. So there should be a link to George's story. I'm sorry. There should be a link to lead you to George's book, some kind of way, in the description of George's story. So that would be the way to figure out how to get the book. My computer's making all kind of noise now. I don't know why. So I am going to look up. I am going to post a copy to George's story right here. This is the link to George's recovery story. Right there. There's a website, www.george3d.org. And I bet there's a way to get the book or information about how to get the book on the site. I don't know if anyone else tried posting the site, but there it is. You guys let me know if there's some issue with that. Anyway. So where were we? Brenda says Carla crushes at Brad. And my age are way different than they are at your age. Huh. That's so. Maybe we should do something where we have a live event with Brad and Carla in Windows, where we have like a 3-window thing. Me, Brad, Carla. Perhaps. Brenda says, especially bass players, you music types all stick together. Yeah, so the Epstein files, they're great noise. I'm certain there are terrible, terrible things that happened. Terrible, tragic things. Things that are definitely worthy of investigation. But how long has the files been a secret? 5 years? 6 years? why did the American people tolerate that for so long? That's the kind of thing to look at and question. The other big thing is, what are the Epstein files distracting us from? What's going on that we're missing because we're all captivated by the sensational, juicy stories centered around the Epstein files. Stories that people tend to just be captivated by. Whatever stories involving the Epstein files make the political party they do not support look bad. Brenda says, I left voicemails for Nux on both Friday evening and Sunday afternoon. I told her she has 1 week to call me or I'm coming to Alabama with my best bloodhound. Well, that'd be good. We're all here for Nux, you know. That's the most important message she can take from all of this. Most important thing she can learn is that we're all here for. So the question, Brad's question about the Epstein files, what do I think about them? And they make me angry. They make me angry at virtually everybody. We, as the American public, haven't done anything to 5 years, 6 years. Why? Why could that possibly take so long? Now that there is some content becoming public, it's not taking that long for news agencies to work their way through it. What a crazy level of incompetence. It's out there. If it takes 5 years to get to the point where you can release documents, or 6 years, it's crazy. Kimberly asked, how's your wife, George? She is great. George says some great things about his wife in his story. It's really a great story. It's really, it breaks my heart that recovery stories don't get the same level of attention as the fentanyl stories, or as the missing person stories, or as the cannabis-induced psychosis stories, or the human trafficking stories. And there is so much to learn from the recovery stories. So much from the differences and the similarities from story to story. It's really, it's gold. Everyone can learn from it, especially anyone dealing with substance use disorder of any type. Really, any type of addiction. So, what other questions does anybody have out there? We'll just throw that broad, open-ended question out and see what we get. Carla says, it may not get the same amount of attention, but I promise you it's saving lives. Thank you, Carla. I hope it is. It is. It's gold to me. We have over 60 stories in our recovery series, and we have at least 3 more recorded that we'll be publishing over the next month or so. And for me, what makes them gold is in the other stories, in the fentanyl stories, and in the cannabis stories, we hear from people that are new in recovery, or we hear from people who just want to be in recovery, and we're able to reply to their comments with a link to the recovery series, to the playlist of recovery stories, and encourage them to go watch a few of them and see what they learn from them. Kimberly, I've been rewatching the last recovery series. That's wonderful. I think there's great inspiration to the recovery stories, even for someone who is not trying to recover, not in recovery. There is basic life lessons about commitment and perseverance and determination and all of those kinds of things to these stories as well, and the same commitment and determination that gets someone through the detox process and the stay in the rehab and all of that, and gets them to the point where they can say, I've got 538 days clean. The same principles of commitment and determination apply to all the things in life that are worthwhile. Will or can America recover from its current state of chaos? It's become beyond morality. I wonder about that, George. And I wonder how much of it is that there's really something substantially different about what's going on now compared to things that were going on 40 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago. Or is it just that we, all of us, become more insightful as we get older? That could be part of it. I have a quote. I have a quote that I am going to share. I'm going to read it to you. It is a quote by Mark Twain. And for some of you, you might have heard it before. I may have read it here before. And if I did, I don't care. We're doing it again. Mark Twain said, travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness. And many of our people need it sorely on these accounts. Broad, wholesome, charitable views of men and things cannot be acquired by vegetating in one little corner of the earth all one's lifetime. Mark Twain said that. How long ago? 50, 80, 100 years ago? I don't know how long ago it was. I would have to Google it, but I'm not doing that right now. You guys can Google it if you want. But Mark Twain said that, and it's as true now as it was then. And there's great examples of similar statements from other people who talk about political corruption, conflict, all of those things, much the same way we talk about it now. To me, it seems more extreme. And to me, the way Republicans and Democrats work together or don't is more extreme now. And there's data to support that. There's this great animated chart that shows over time how voting practices in Congress have changed. How many times Republicans and Democrats cross over in the spirit of compromise and in the spirit of what's best for the country. And in the 80s, it happened a lot. And in the 90s, it happened less and less. And then 2000s, 2010s, up to now, where it never happens. And whose fault is that? It's not the elected officials. It's not the members of Congress. The first role of a member of Congress is to keep his job. So he has to vote the way the people who elected him want him to, or her. So to talk about whose fault it is, that's obvious whose fault it is. That too is in the Constitution. It says whose fault these problems are right in the beginning. It's those first three words. You can't miss them. They're larger than any other words on the document. Right up front, it says, we the people. That's who's at fault here. We yell and scream at each other and have these little tantrums and do these profoundly stupid, disrespectful things, and then get angry at the side we're disrespecting for not coming around. How stupid is that? Let me see where I'm at. 536 today, but Wednesday will be 538. I was close. I was way close, Brenda. For me, that's a giant accomplishment. Julie says it's going to get worse before it gets better. The native elders have predicted what's going on in the world. Carl Jung was Jung. How do you say it? I don't know. Was a genius as well. So is George Orwell. 1984. I remember when 1984 was in the near future. But there are so many things in the book 1984 that have become reality. We have unwords, words you can't use anymore. I don't mean like racial slurs, but simple words. We go through these cycles of what words are. I was pretty sure, Brenda. We go through these cycles of what is acceptable and what's not. For a long time, you couldn't say illegal alien. Now it's kind of become okay again. But why did that ever become inaccurate? Bree says, "Are we really doing politics?" Yeah, well, maybe a little bit, but not. We're talking. I'm talking about the book 1984 by George Orwell. I have it on the shelf back here. Unwords. That's retarded. Retarded is an unword. Why? Anyway. Tears of Trails. I've heard of Trail of Tears. Kimberly, are you familiar with The Man in the Maze? Well, that sounds intriguing. So who else is with us who might have questions about anything we're working on, Texas Pictures, anything about any of the series we have, anything like that? Kimberly says, no, I've never heard of Man in the Maze. Brenda says, Kim, I think you mean Trail of Tears, which is the trail Native Americans were forced from Florida to Oklahoma. My great grandmother died on the Trail of Tears in Missouri. That's terrible. I think with regard to the conflicts that we have within this country, I think there is an inherent kind of need that humans have to have a conflict, to have an enemy. Some of you may be a little young to remember September 11th, 2001. One of the things that stood out to me is for months after that, everyone was nicer to everyone. And it's because we had a common enemy, I think. We were brought together with what Sun Tzu calls the enemy of my enemy. And so the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And there was cooperation. There was getting along. If you're driving along the freeway and you try to change lanes and put your signal on, the car beside you slows down and lets you in rather than speeding up so you don't get in front of them. Welcome, Risk. Good to see you here. Kimberly says, okay, Brenna, I'm Eastern Band Cherokee tribe in Tennessee. Tohono O'odham tribe. Path of Life. Look it up. Glad you're here, Risk. I appreciate all of you being here. But it is going to be time to wrap it up pretty soon. If I've missed any kind of question, comment, topic that you want to discuss, it happens. I have this little window that I follow the chat with, and the enemy is now mayor of New York City. Holy cow. That's not political at all. The thing about things like that is there is an education that comes from it. People are going to learn eventually. So there's that. Brenda says, Kim, my mother's people are Tennessee hillbillies. Oh, I bet I can't say hillbilly. See? An unword. I don't know what the right term. You can call people rednecks is still fair game. You can still call people rednecks all day long. You can make fun of rednecks. You can make fun of how they talk or their perspectives or anything if you're ridiculing rednecks. And rednecks don't care. They're fine. Brenda says, Kim, my mother's people. Sorry. New Yorkistan. Oh, come on now, Risk. That's bad. It's funny, but it's bad. Wishful thinking about people learning. I don't know. We do learn. We always learn. Cultures learn. Cultures evolve. People, commenters on the channel often like to point out how different our culture is handling the fentanyl crisis compared to the crack epidemic. It's apples and oranges. Really, there is no comparing it, but it's also, there's 30 years in between them. And during that 30 years, the culture's evolved. Addiction, recovery, political considerations, law enforcement, medical community, they all learned a lot from the crack epidemic, and things evolved. There is no comparison. Julie's pointing out, Brenda, waiting on your closing tonight. And there it is. Brenda, my mom was from Clarksville, Mississippi, and Choctaw. And Brenda says, what you take for granted, someone else is praying for. What you take for granted, someone else is praying for. That is such a simple thing to say to yourself in the mirror every morning and every night. Say it while you're brushing your teeth. That way there's a chance you get toothpaste on the mirror. But remembering that simple message is important. What you take for granted, someone else is praying for. So we have been here over 75 minutes, and it is time to wrap things up for today. But I always like to stress to everyone how how grateful we are for you guys. For those of you who are members of the channel, we are always looking for ideas, suggestions for content that could be specifically for members. A way to better show our gratitude. We're going to have to, sometime soon, we're going to have to change the advanced screening, for all the fentanyl stories, we're uploading them twice to the channel, once for members and once for the general public. And what we're going to start doing is we'll keep doing that, but after about 5 days, we're going to delete the member version after they've had the 4 or 5 days of advanced access and commercial free access. Because it's getting out of hand. We have so many videos on our channel now that it's hard to explore because everything is repeated. It's weird. And we're hearing about it from some of the people who visit our channel, and we don't want to alienate anyone. So anyway, we are going to wrap it up for tonight. But I say again, how grateful we are for all of you. Thank you so much for watching our channel and for being part of this awareness effort, part of this education effort, this sharing stories that matter. So, and I also always want to remind everyone that we are here for you. You're welcome to reach out to us anytime. You can reach us by email at info@texas-pictures.com. You can find us on Facebook under my name, Glenn Muse, or under Texas Pictures. And you can also find us on TikTok. You can learn more about us on our website at texas-pictures.com. On our homepage, you'll find a link to a page that explains how to share your story. There's a link to our merchandise store and other information about us, like mailing address and where we got our start and all kinds of interesting stuff. So thank you all for joining us. And we will see you all next time. Good night, folks.